Hi everyone. Hey Dan, Paul, Poppy, Chris, Mark Osborne, Craig. Hey guys. You all should go and see Chris's new Vice. There you go. There's something exciting that's happened this week. Couple more. Where do I even start? G'day. Happy Wednesday night. Couple more competition entries this week. There will be an update video at some point because there's a couple of new ones, 3 new ones. Where are we at with them? One from Poppy, April Marie Karen. Go and check out his channel. One from Cam, who doesn't under-engineer anything at all. So if you want to see some can't twist clamps made right, I don't know if I can give you any more spoilers than that. Go and see Cam at Battler, his channel. One from JB. One from JB too. I'm building a 3D printer. It's a pretty good video. Go and check that out as well. We're going to come back to the competition because there's things we need to sort out about rules, but we'll get there a little bit later on. Machine NZ, g'day. See Tom Wanzi come in too. Hey Tom. Hey Warren. Warren's nearly on time. What have I been doing this week? This dividing head. This is a bit of a project actually. John Creasy did drop soggy, wet and chilly Missouri. John Creasy had this for a little while and he put a thread on this end and a thread on this end of the spindle. That was something that needed to be done because I can't do it myself. Hey John. So this actually is the same thread now as the Lorch. Which is really nice. And we're pretty much sort of set to go. John made this up. He's not in yet. He's probably at the gym. John made this faceplate up out of an old a barbell weight from the Scrap Metal Merchant. And it's a pretty nice faceplate actually. You sent it down and I fitted the thread to my machine just so it was exactly right and faced it and machined the outside and put some grooves in it every 10 millimeters. Really happy with that. Thanks, John. That arrived in a parcel. And we got some threads on there. So it was all systems go then on this. We've still got a little bit of a tight spot in here. If we put these two nuts on here and do them up, then this grips, and that's not real good. Hey JB. Hey John. So I'm going to have to adjust the length of this. I don't know whether it needs some sort of a backlash or whether I'm going to go to the trouble of putting a thrust bearing in here or just a brass washer or what I'm going to do there. This on the cast iron probably should nearly be enough because it's not doing high speed, and once it's locked down it's in the same position wherever you are. So I'm not sure about that yet. But in the meantime, while John's had this, I mocked a few parts up in the 3D printer. Just to give us some sort of an idea what it's going to look like. And then ended up making them up in aluminium and cast iron and steel. So this is how it works. This piece goes on here and it's got a... I had intended to tap this halfway through and then just use a bolt to tighten it up, but it's not really much good in aluminium, so I've put a line lock on there and I found a shorter bolt which I'll change over at some point. This is... put everything together now. Hey Alistair. We're all anxiously waiting results on your granite slab. Fully expect a full analysis from there. There's quite a lot of bits here. And some of them had some modification, and there's been a few changes. But let's pull it apart and see how it all fits together. This is just a cast iron block. And this bolt here well, that's pretty special. Everyone likes a new workshop floor. This bolt will have a bigger head to go on this end with an offset pin to go in a hole to stop that turning. So you only need one spanner to tighten this up. This piece is reamed and I've made this shaft which has got a pin in it. And it's got a recess for this screw just so everything's captive so it doesn't fall out on the floor, which lines up there. This goes in here. If we get it the right way around. And when we lock that down nice and tight, this is beautiful and firm. There's no wiggle in that. I really like that. If we back this off a couple of turns, we can put this in here then. And when we tighten this down, that moves, and there's not a lot of in shake in there. Everything looks pretty good. I'm really pleased with that. So I had a few modifications with these. These I originally designed and JB made them, and thank you JB, with 3 holes. Decided I never had enough room to fit the 3 holes in, and in hindsight it probably would have been okay, but it's a lot of messing around to take 3 screws out and put 3 screws back in, and we lose a bit of headroom this way as well if we do that. So I've modified one of them, and at some point I need to make a back plate for this, a piece of probably 2mm stainless, something like that, with the same hole in it. And this just fits on a hexagon, which is good. The keyway might have been better. I've 3D printed a piece that'll work as a back plate, but we need to make those bits as well. The keyway would have been better probably, because you get it always in the same spot, but I guess we can mark it or remember. The sector arms go on this circle here with a like a Belleville washer or a spring or something to hold them firm, and that screws down inside there, which is pretty nice. Don't make too many promises, JB. And this sector arm, so far I just have a flat on there, and this sector arm fits there through the temp. This is just a mock-up really, and probably I'll make this out of aluminium or brass, or maybe I'll just leave it 3D printed. Hey Cam. So that's the progress with this. There's a lot of bits I've made. Everything looks like it's going to fit together pretty nice. I'm really pleased with that. I've still got to put a key in this gear, or a keyway in that gear. Lots of little projects to do still. Still got to, I want to probably, this lock screw is just a hard steel screw. I want to probably, I think, bore that out and put a bronze insert in that so that it doesn't mark up the shaft. Still going to make sector arms. I'm still going to make some sort of a detent for this. So that's coming together pretty nice, and I'm still probably some Launch Green, some Centec Grey or something like that. At some point the Centec's going to get a coat of paint. It's probably going to get a vertical head before that happens, so don't know yet. I'm of 2 minds whether to make a G.H. Thomas style tailstock that sticks out here and everything locates off the same base, because this is plenty rigid here. Maybe I could put a center on this end with like a machine lug here with a rod coming up and a machine lug here, just to give me a bit more capacity, so we don't have to fit the center on the rear support on the bed as well. So that's a thought too, and I'm sort of wondering about that. So anyway, it's an ongoing project, and that's what I've been working on. Craig, this is for the Centec mill at this point. It's fairly stocky, so I don't think it's going to go on the launch as such, but I'm still thinking about that. So at this point, it's for the Centec and probably to go on the shaper as well, which would be fairly helpful. But I made this the same inside diameter and taper as the launch collets, or it will be once I run a reamer through there. So the theory is that these chucks here, which are the little Sherline chucks, should go in here okay with a short drawbar. That's the idea anyway. We've got a set of plates which I'm going to have to think of some way of marking properly so that I can tell which holes are in them without counting them every time I make a division. And I still need to put the detent arm here and a sector arm on here and make all this up. And there's a few little things, but it's getting there. And that's what I've done this week. See how we go, JB. But there's still a lot to do before this is actually on the machine and working. But it does fit. It's got a keyway that actually matches the Centec table. So that's pretty good. And we're going to have to think of something about probably a offset center arm of some sort. Probably a bit of 7/8 bar or 3/4 bar down here off this piece here. I'm not sure about that yet. Still in my head. Anyway, these could be 20 millimeters bigger too. So if we're going to make another set, JB, they could be 20 millimeters bigger. Wouldn't hurt. That's what I've done for the last 4 days. I had a bit of a go at this chuck too. If anyone has any ideas about getting this apart, I'd be very grateful. This is an good old Pratt Toolsmith's number 2. I think it's a number 2 3-jaw chuck. It's not a bad chuck. And it's all hardened and there's probably less rattle in it than would be expected. Take care, Chris. And I can't get it apart. I think there's a thread here. Well, I've had a look at some YouTube videos and this unscrews here, but I can't move this. So I'm probably going to heat this up and try and keep this cool. But I'm suspicious that this might crack here. I'm really a bit nervous about that. So I'm putting that one back on the back burner at some point. One day we might get it apart. So, competition. There's been a couple of entries. The last 2 entries. One from JB. It's a pretty cool video, actually, about making a 3D printer. And one from Cam about making some awesome clamps. Sort of majorly over-engineered, but it's okay. They're clamps. And we can do these things. They're both a little bit long. And I've been thinking about this, and I've been thinking, hey, Max. I've been thinking, do I just let them creep in and say, yeah, don't worry about the 20-minute thing or not? And I'm going to say, read the rules. It does say 20-minute video, so I think you could both clean them down to that if you wanted to. But they're in the playlist and they're worth watching. They really are, but they are a bit long. So you could leave it at that and say, hey, look, we got in the playlist, and share the crap out of them because they're really good videos. I make sure everyone sees them. They are really good videos. However, read the rules. The rules are in the description too. But have a look at the rules. Download them. It says 20 minutes. So I'm going to say, hey, look, that's a rule. We're gonna abide by that. Sorry, guys. Lance and Patrick on that little chuck. I think I've used more brute force on that chuck in the last week than Lance and Patrick have ever used on any machine tool ever in their lives. So I'm way out of, yeah, not even on speaking terms with them at the moment as far as chucks go. I had 4 feet of like timber on one side and had the other side done up in the vise, and I can't move it. So it's not a left-hand thread as far as I know. It doesn't seem to be a left-hand thread. So I'm not real sure. You can see the end of the thread in here. And I've tried both ways, but it won't move. I put a mark across here with a wax pencil and engraved a mark on it. And it hasn't moved even a millimetre either way. So this chuck, as far as I'm concerned, is not coming undone. Yeah. So I'm really don't think I should mention it to Lance and Patrick. That is probably not something they want to know about. What else? I got a nice clean lathe, or I did have, but I made some parts on it. I made this afternoon, which is a little retainer for the quadrants. And I don't know which is worse, cast iron or brass. I've got most of the cast iron off the lathe and the milling machine and the shaper from this job, but I've got brass everywhere again now, and that's only 2 hours later. So we'll see. Now, hey Eric. Yeah. Taking the time. Dan, yes, the shock is a pretty good thing, and it's hard. And I'm reluctant to hit it too hard because everything on there is hardened to excess, really. And someone's already had a go at this with the C-spanner and chipped all these holes here, and I'm a little bit reluctant to put too much, give it too much of a bang, because I think it's going to bust. So at this point, I'm probably going to heat this up and see what we get. JB, no word from Clark. Poor guy. He probably hates me. I'm scared to even mention it. He's got my castings for the Stuart Turner 400. Hopefully, he's had some luck with some parts so far, but he's a busy guy and he's got lots happening. And I did give him a deadline of the 22nd of June, so he's probably going to take some advantage of that. But excited to see what he ends up with. I soaked it in WD-40. I haven't soaked the chuck in anything else really. It probably could do with it. I had it in the oven and brought it up to smoky hot, but that really hasn't made any difference either. It cooked the grease out of it. Anyway, as that drama unfolds, we'll either have a chuck in 2 bits, or one that's undone and not much good for anything, I think. Worst case scenario, I'll make a new backplate for it when I get the thread turning attachment all up and running. And then it would probably be a pretty good chuck. What other exciting things happened? No painting this weekend. Yeah, I can't get it to move, that chuck. No anything this weekend really except this, and I made good progress on that, and I'm really pleased with the way it's come out, and I'm excited to get it on the machine and cutting some gears and things like that. This is something that I'm going to need for the Stewart 400 petrol engine project. I'm going to need to cut some gears and things like that. So in reality, this is a necessity to get done before June. No painting this weekend. I really didn't do anything. I've got one end done in the back, and I really probably should do the other end, but I've got to be creative to do that. And this weekend, this is what I did. Bought a new tool. It's kind of junk. I would like a decent 1.5 inch die stock. This one's Chinese. Why on earth these come unscrewed from the factory, I don't know. I'm seriously thinking I'm going to Loctite them in. It has got decent screws on it, but the screws don't really line up on any 8mm button die that I've got, so it's not a bad fit in there. But it could do with some work and a bit of clean up and a face, and maybe before I Loctite the handles in, I might set it up and do that. Clean this up and probably clean the back up and see how we go. I'm not a big fan of slot head screws, and why someone doesn't make them with a to fit an Allen key, I don't know. I've never worked that out, but that's my new tool today. Needed that to make the thread on here, but that's my budget blown for this month. Dear up, I don't think it's press fitted together. I think it is actually a thread, because I've seen a video on someone actually unscrewing that and unscrewing it clockwise or counterclockwise, the proper way. So I don't think that there's much to it, except we've got to get it unscrewed. Hand Tool Restoration did a video on that chuck, and he had a lot of trouble with his too, I think, but you don't see everything in his video, and he didn't really discuss it, so I'm not sure really. Gosh, I think we're about done, and we're half hour up, and you should go and check out the new competition entries. They're really worth a look. There's some awesome stuff there. Who else have we mentioned? Go and check out JB's video on the YouTube on the 3D printer. That's a nice looking printer, JB. I'm really impressed about that. It's not something that I'm very good at. Stefan Goswinter has a new video up yesterday, which is kind of a one of those theoretical tool making videos that wherein you make something that no one else is ever likely to need and makes everyone think that they wish they had one. Go and check out his channel too. I'm sure you already look. Big shout out to Stefan, watches this. He should totally enter the tool making video competition. We certainly have mentioned this in previous conversations, I'm sure, but he's a busy guy. I'll check that out, John. History of the dividing head. I think it come with a fairly ugly and probably homemade second time round spindle like this. It's had a chuck bolted on it. It wasn't that chuck. I don't know where that's. The two come from separate. Well, they both come from the same. No, they come from separate places. But it's had a basic detent wheel on it, which probably is going to get repurposed, or I'll make another one or something. And it had a bent screw to tighten it up, and a hollow bore. But I think this is probably off a grinding, off a tool and cutter grinder. I thought that when I got it that there was a matching center, but there's not, because they're about 3/4, 3/8, ½ inch off center. So they don't actually match up. So that's off something else. But it's got a nice base that fits that actually fits the milling machine too. It's graduated here nicely and here, and all the graduations seem to actually line up. So when it's on 0, everything seems to be pretty square. So I don't know much else about it, except I reckon it's off a tool and cutter grinder, and it's now a dividing head. Hey DIY. And hi Lance or Patrick. I'm guessing it's Lance, but it may be both of you. You're up early. Good to see you. It's Lance. G'day. So that's probably going in the bin. This is much better and much nicer, and everything fits together nice. It's just some fine tuning to go and some little bits. And hi David. So anyway, that's what we've done. I'm probably going to say goodbye. Thanks everyone for watching. More soon. There will be an update video on the competition at some point, probably during the week. Watch out for that. Check out the hashtags. Tool making competition 2019 is the hashtag. Check that one out. If you click on it down here, it should give you in the description. It should give you a list of the videos that have actually entered. Mostly, that's probably the easiest way to find the videos. But you can go back if you uploaded a video and missed them. The hashtags, you can go back and you can put them in. But I guess if we're going to say that 20-minute rule is actually a rule, then probably we need to enforce the hashtag rule too. But let's see how we go with that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. And there's going to be questions. Keep going, but I'm going to call this video over. And more soon. Be kind to each other.